I recently uncovered a shocking scheme. The president of a homeowners association and her family were covertly constructing an illegal gas station on the farmland I inherited, falsifying documents and issuing threats, until they discovered I was the county inspector with the authority to halt their plans. Yet, how could I resist when this corrupt clan wielded influence over everything, from the sheriff's office to my own workplace? When I inherited my grandfather's farm, I never anticipated such trouble. The 15 acres of rolling hills had been in my family for generations. Each weekend, I'd leave my apartment in town to tend the vegetable garden and feed the chickens. My day job as the county building inspector kept me occupied during the week, but this land was my true sanctuary. That tranquil Tuesday morning shifted everything. While gathering eggs, I heard engines rumbling near the south pasture. Curious, I crested the hill and stopped in my tracks. 3 individuals in matching polo shirts were driving stakes into my field, directed by a woman with dark hair and designer sunglasses. "Excuse me," I called, hurrying down the slope. "What are you doing on my property?" The woman turned, her smile as icy as a January frost. "Oh, you must be the current resident. I'm Victoria Langston, president of Crestwood Heights Homeowners Association." "Homeowners Association?" I echoed, perplexed. "This is private farmland. There's no association here." Victoria's smile tightened. "According to our records, this property was annexed into our development last month. We're set to begin construction on our new gas station next week." My stomach sank. "That's impossible. I never consented to any of this." She handed me a folder. "The paperwork is finalized. Address any concerns to our attorneys." Inside were official-looking documents claiming my south pasture had been rezoned for commercial use, complete with my signature, except I'd never signed them. "This isn't my signature," I said, my voice rising. "This is forgery." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Be cautious with accusations. Our association has exceptional legal counsel." One of her crew, a broad-shouldered man with a clipboard, stepped forward. "Ma'am, we have all required approvals. This site will soon be the Crestwood Convenience Center." "I'm calling the police," I declared, reaching for my phone. Victoria chuckled softly. "Go ahead. Sheriff Matthews sits on our HOA board." My finger hesitated over the dial button as her words sank in. In our small county, connections were everything. I needed a calculated approach. "You have 24 hours to remove your equipment from my property," I stated firmly. "After that, I'll file trespassing charges." I withheld my identity as the county inspector whose approval they'd need for construction, a card I might play later. Victoria's smile didn't waver. "We'll return tomorrow with our surveyor to mark the boundaries. Review those documents carefully before making threats." As they departed, I noticed their unmarked white truck with tinted windows. I snapped photos of their stakes, labeled CLH, and everything they left behind. Back at my farmhouse, I spread the documents across the kitchen table. The rezoning application bore county stamps and signatures, yet something was amiss. The approval date aligned with my vacation last month, when I was hiking in the mountains with no cell service. Too convenient. I called my colleague Daniel from the zoning department. "Crestwood Heights," he repeated after I explained. "I've never heard of them applying for anything. Is Route 16 near you?" My blood chilled. Route 16 bordered my south pasture. "Who approved it?" I asked. "It's strange," Daniel said. "Commissioner Bradley's signature is on it, but he was on medical leave then. And your signature's listed as secondary inspector." "I never signed anything," I insisted. "I'd never approve a gas station on an active watershed." "Something's off," Daniel agreed. "There's no environmental impact statement or public hearing record." As we spoke, my doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw a sheriff's car. "I have to go," I told Daniel. "Can you copy everything you find?" The deputy at my door was unfamiliar, a red flag in our tight-knit county. "Are you the property owner?" he asked, expressionless. "Yes, for 5 generations," I replied. "How can I assist you?" He handed me an envelope. "This is a cease and desist order. You're barred from interfering with the Crestwood Heights project." "On what grounds?" I demanded. "Harassment of work crews," he said flatly. "MS. Langston filed a complaint this afternoon." I stared, incredulous. "They're trespassing on my land." His radio crackled. "Check the back of the order. The county's approved temporary access for survey work." As he left, My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Back off if you know what's good for you. Staring at the fake documents and the retreating sheriff's car, I realized someone powerful wanted my land, and they weren't playing fair. That night, I rummaged through Grandpa's old desk, unearthing original property maps and deeds proving our unchanged boundaries. I also found a letter from weeks before his death, warning of developers eyeing nearby land for a highway exit. As headlights passed my farm for the third time that evening, I knew this fight was larger than me, and it was only beginning. At 5:30 a.m., sharp knocking roused me. 3 bulldozers loomed on the road, accompanied by a crew and Victoria Langston herself. I threw on a robe and cracked the door. "You're trespassing again." She thrust a document forward. "Emergency construction permit, approved yesterday by the county executive. We're breaking ground today." "That's impossible," I said, scanning it. "Projects require public notification. Special economic development exemption," she cut in. "Obstruct county-approved work, and Deputy Langston will arrest you." My stomach twisted. "Deputy Langston?" "My brother-in-law," she smirked, "recently promoted. I needed time. Give me 10 minutes to dress." "5," she snapped. "The crew's on the clock." I called Daniel while dressing. "They're here with bulldozers and a fake emergency permit," I whispered. "Stall them," he urged. "That permit's suspicious." Grabbing Grandpa's maps and my inspector badge, I faced Victoria. "I need worker IDs and equipment certifications." Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't your jurisdiction." I flashed my badge. "Actually, it is. I'm the senior county inspector. Show me watershed disruption permits. This area's a protected aquifer." Her composure faltered as a worker chimed in. "We can't dig without water permits." "That's a violation." A text from Daniel confirmed. "Emergency permit fake." Bradley didn't sign. "As inspector, I'm issuing a stop work order," I declared, photographing the equipment. "Violations carry $10,000 daily fines." The supervisor hesitated. "We'll pause until this is cleared up." Victoria's face reddened. "This isn't over." As they retreated, I felt fleeting relief, but the battle had just begun. At the records office with Daniel, we uncovered a web of deceit. "Crestwood Heights isn't a registered HOA," he said, pointing to a map. "But CLH Holdings has been buying land around yours for a truck stop. They need your parcel for highway access." Forged signatures, missing reports, and altered records pointed to high-level corruption. "This goes beyond Victoria," I murmured. "A clerk warned us a man from the county executive's office, Thomas Langston, Victoria's brother-in-law, was asking about us. We spotted him with Victoria outside, gathered our evidence, and slipped away." Driving Daniel back, I saw workers ignoring my order, clearing trees. "Thomas can override inspectors," Daniel said grimly. A call from an unknown number followed. "Is this the stubborn farmer?" a smooth voice asked. "Who's this?" "Thomas Langston, county executive." "Let's discuss this professionally. My office, tomorrow, 9 a.m. "I'll bring my lawyer," I replied. "No need for a friendly chat," he said. "Check your mailbox. A performance review's been scheduled." The call ended, and soon, Deputy Langston approached at a gas station. "Mind a word about some complaints?" he asked, as a crash woke me the next dawn. Bulldozers smashed my fence at 5:30 a.m., tearing up my wheat. Victoria emerged from an SUV. "Sleep well? We've got approval." She showed documents signed by my coworker Sarah, bought off with a job for her husband at Langston Construction. Daniel called. "They're wiping server files. Your property records are vanishing." Victoria offered $200,000 to leave. "This land's not for sale," I snapped. Deputy Langston appeared, claiming my deed showed transfer to Crestwood Heights. "Cooperate, or lose your job," he warned. A text offered hope. Rusty's Diner, noon. Former HOA victim. Fired that morning, I arrived at Rusty's. An elderly woman, Clara Benson, waved me over. "I'm a former Sycamore Ridge resident. Langston's took everything." She introduced Harold Tate, Doris Miller, and Judge Richard Evans, victims turned resistors with evidence of the Langston's crimes. Daniel joined, handing me a flash drive of salvaged records. "We need to stop tomorrow's demolition," Clara said. Judge Evans had a federal injunction ready, and Clara's son, a reporter, prepared an expose. "They'll retaliate," I warned. "They've already taken all we had," Harold replied. A list from Thomas named us all as targets. The next morning, the State Gazette exposed the fraud. Protesters blocked bulldozers as Victoria threatened me by phone. The FBI's interested in your banking, I countered. Workers soon left, but Daniel reported server wipes. At an emergency council meeting, I presented backups, including Thomas's recorded admission. FBI agent Carter arrested the Langstons for fraud and arson. My farmhouse had burned that night, but I'd saved evidence in Grandpa's lockbox. 6 months later, rebuilding with community help, Agent Carter offered me an FBI job. I declined. My place was here. The Langstons' plea deal exposed statewide corruption, and our watchdog group grew. My farm became a symbol of resilience, proof that united neighbors could topple even the mightiest tyrants.